I am who I am because I value my past. The memories of yesterday can never be changed, but they give me a reason to live again. There is a reason I am here today, but there is no reason you lost your lives. You were called abusive names, deprived of rights to be humans, slayed because of who you were born. I am lighting a candle as the sign of resilience. I'm paying a tribute. You left a legacy, and I'm a fruit from the love you sowed. Let's say never again to genocide. There should be no war. There should be no genocide. Anyway, let's say never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. I was young, I still needed you, but you were taken away from me too soon. If I had one wish, it would be seeing you again. Today we're strong men and women, even though you are not here to see. We're carrying on to make you feel proud out there, watching down at us. I am lighting a candle as the sign of resilience. I'm paying a tribute. You left a legacy, and I'm a fruit from the love you sowed. Let's say never again to genocide. There should be no war. There should be no genocide. Anyway, let's say never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. I am a witness that if you and I come together as one, we can make sure genocide never happens again. History should be told and passed on to further generations. Let's all stand up and all sing out, never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. There should be no war. There should be no genocide. Anyway, let's say never again again. To genocide.
Never again, never again.
Never again. We brought you flowers. 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 We brought you
Good evening and welcome to this very important broadcast. We've had an important week this week. So much has been happening in French Cameroon, across the sub-African region, and that encapsulates the discussion we'll be having here this evening. Once we are going to examine, as you have seen in our caption, we'll be examining the terrorist activities that are taking place in these two countries. My interest is mostly the Cameroons, but there is a replication, I would say, the same things that happened in neighboring Nigeria are exactly the same things that are happening in neighboring French Cameroon and Southern Cameroons, though in a smaller scale. This is exactly what is happening. But before we even get into that, I just want us to refresh our minds with this music done by a Bamenda guy, and it will help us to understand what has just happened in French Cameroon. We'll be back with some of the discussions this evening to make sure that you understand exactly what happens in every county.
Police stay for road with pride. 500 could be the price. When they stop, you pay the price. I don't read the votes. Yeah, make I take my oath. I do so swear, say I go wicked. Almost every budget go the enter from my pocket. When the budget enter, I go hairy, wear my jacket. Fly go for France, I not even need a ticket. I swear when I go suffer 3 hours of France, then I did for Swishy border. Enter hotel, spend half the door, I no go bother. She don't watch TV, look how I dey suffer. Finish come and jacka, Ide California. Sending money, telling me Kitori with your banker. Make it go shopping spree, live la vida loca. Go for club, buy whiskey, listen with your coca. Smoke some majunga. All the thing way I the talker. Me when I know say I go do And if any man try me when I do anything for the country, I go lock her. All the thing way I the talker. Me when I know say I go do And if any man try me when I do anything for the country, I go lock her. Life for you go hard, pass the one for chat. If you chop once a day, oh boy, you get for glad. Life go the cut, accidents go back. Dust everywhere, but the butter yeah go bad. Dotting deeper for your tap, you go fear for wash your sap. Not to talk of even shack, belly by the thing a trap. Go hospital, hold your bribe. Police stay for road with pride. 500 go be the price. When they stop, you pay the price. Dull man with the choco go pass and now. When you finish school, go for net, start for scam. Bolo no go there, I swear to God, that's the plan. If you vex you must have 4 bush, go Thailand. Bolo do sent in them for port. When them rich, only tax, you go dash out for port. Life for year go really strong, it go bad, it go short. When I finish, you no clap, I go send you for court. I swear to God, all the thing way I the talker. Me when I know say I go do it. And if any man try me when I do anything for the country, I go lock her. All the thing way I the talker. Me when I know say I go do it. And if any man try me when I do anything for the country, I go lock her.
So you've just listened to that. I thought I was going to have a monologue, but I don't think there's a need for one. Because as you heard from Vogue there, he has just told us exactly what the swearing in was all about. If there's any other language, if you didn't understand that, you may want to do some rewind and listen again. You'll know what happened in French Cameroon. Now, one would think that after a 93-year-old would have imposed himself, rigged the elections by some means to have himself supposedly re-elected, that would be making the news wave. On the contrary, we saw some very strange organizations sending support and congratulating a victory that was clearly rigged in broad daylight. Now, the man who won the election is currently on the run. It is alleged that he's somewhere in northern Nigeria. We hope Nigerian leaders will not criminally, this time again, hand him over to Cameroon authorities like they did with our president, Sisiko Julius Ayuk Tabe. But that's not even my cause of concern. Like I said, one would have expected that after such a situation, it's going to make the news headline globally. Unfortunately, what has been trending for more than a week right now is what I'm about to play to you. President Donald Trump sending a stark warning to Nigeria. Let's listen.
Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. Thousands and thousands of Christians are being killed. Radical Islamists are responsible for this mass slaughter. I am hereby making Nigeria a country of particular concern. That's a legal definition. When the Christians or any such group is slaughtered, like is happening in Nigeria, 3,100 versus 4,476 worldwide. What horrible numbers. Something has to be done. I am asking Congressman Riley Moore, together with Chairman Tom Cole and the House Appropriations Committee, to immediately look into this matter and to report back to me. And I mean, like, immediately. The United States cannot stand by while such atrocities are happening in Nigeria and numerous other countries. It's not only Nigeria, it's all over. We stand ready, willing, and able to save our great Christian population around the world. This is not going to happen. The killing of Christians is not going to happen.
The killing of Christians is not going to happen. Well, as you all know, politicians are trying to rewrite the narrative. They're changing the narratives. The question is, Nigerians are being killed by armed groups, blah, blah, blah. Some have accused Trump of trying to intrude. But one thing is clear and very clear. So you've had sharp and divided sides of the debate. On the other side, some are saying Donald Trump is interfering. We're going to find out that from some of the diplomats we have here, how that is interference. Others, why some think that this is a much needed intervention. But if you would have America intervene to support the government, because America is saying that they will not provide support. America provides military and economic support to Nigeria. America provides military and economic support to Cameroon. So the truth be told is civilians are dying, most especially Christians and Christian communities, by the Fulani herdsmen and Boko Haram. But where are the terrorist groups emanating from? Reports we have says that Boko Haram was created by members of government in Nigeria. Nigerians themselves have said that on TV. Nigerian government officials and politicians have patronized the Fulani herdsmen for political gains. Well, that's not going to be the focus of our discussion today. The exact same thing is happening in French Cameroon and in Ambazonia, perpetrated by Cameroon government officials and their proxies. We all know of the Atanganji boys. So why am I saying this? Because I know the State Department watches this program every weekend. That it is happening in Cameroon in a smaller scale than it is happening in Nigeria, I'm not even sure. When we talk about smaller scale, what do we mean? Because the thousands or the number of people that have been killed and wasted by the terrorist army of Mr. Biya in the southern Cameroons outweighs the number of people that have died in Nigeria within the past 10 years as supposedly killed by these terrorist groups. So you have number one person, the number one person that is, I would say, is the helper and the facilitator of this terrorist movement in the Cameroons is Paul Atanganji. As you all know, Paul Atanganji is an ex-convict. Reports has it that he negotiated his way out of prison. Actually, the Cameroonian government went into prison, negotiated him out of prison to use him to do their dirty jobs. Now, this is not just propaganda. This is not innuendo. This is not conspiracy theory. A Cameroonian army confessed that they are being facilitated to attack and kill civilians. That's what Paul Atanganji does. He's not using the Cameroon army. He creates his own private armed groups. Moja did it. Today, because he could not manage the situation, he is now in Kondengi. So Paul Atanganji, using the formula of the French to dismantle the peaceful movement, the Ambazonian liberation movement, He had to create his own Amba boys. The Atanganji boys. These guys are kidnappers. And the idea and the calculation of the Bulu regime in Yaoundé was that, okay, we're going to kill Ambazonians with guys representing as Ambazonians so that we will turn the population against the genuine Ambazonian fighters that are resisting the genocidal onslaught caused by the government. And so Atanganji had to recruit boys, funded them, gave them arms. In fact, we also had evidence of the fact that some ADF group of members were helped by Atanganji. During the last municipal elections, you had Frunzi, before he died, cried out and said, hey, this is what is happening. The ADF in Momo is not allowing me to campaign, but allows the CPDM and CPDM officials to campaign. So I believe that the United States Embassy in Yaoundé has sufficient resources to actually investigate this matter and report it duly to the State Department, the way it is. The Cameroonian government and its official, because Atanganji is a government official representing the government, threatening the church. We have videos, I just don't have time to play the video. This guy is threatening the church in the Cameroons, intimidating pastors to do campaigns for him on their altars instead of preaching the gospel. That's what Atanganji does. If that's not terrorism, what is it? And to crown it up all, very strangely, the DDR is a formula used after war. But Cameroon created DDR during war with the intention to manipulate and intimidate Ambazonian freedom fighters, bribe some of them who are hungry, kill them. So Cameroon's DDR is a hub of terrorist activity because by norm and international regulations, you cannot put people in DDR. These are people that are supposed to be rehabilitated into societies if actually you have taken guns from them and pardoned them. But Cameroon traumatizes them and sends them back into the bushes to go and give them intelligence on the Ambazonian fighters. And this is where Kunda Titus is a guy from Widikum. In 2016-2017, Kunda Titus left the United Kingdom. He does security in the United Kingdom. Came to bury his mother a year in Widikum. And by so doing, he was arrested by the Ambazonian fighters because the Ambazonian fighters arrest every person to investigate to find out if you are a spy. They had no negative intention. Later on, he was released. He went back to the UK. And truly, the reason why he was arrested was because he was a spy. They had intelligence that he was a spy of the Cameroun government. So he was arrested. But because he's a son of the soil, he was released. No harm was done to him. Since then until now, this guy has not only waged a war against the legal Ambazonian movement. What he doesn't understand is that the Ambazonian movement is legal under international law. He has waged a war against Ambazonians on the social media, and he has not ended there. Kunda Titus also has recruited armed dealers on the ground. And these armed dealers kill Ambazonians on a daily basis. They identify fighters. When they try to manipulate you, they are using two systems: manipulation and intimidation. When they both do not work for you to join their camp, they kill you. So Kunda Titus should be able to answer if his a government official and who is funding him. And he does this with impunity because the Cameroonian government funds his dirty deals and he does them. Now, very quickly, before we move into before I get the lawyers to get to briefly comment on this, very, very quickly, there's Ngala Gerald. Yeah, he's a billionaire. As a lawyer, the source of his income is questionable. He's a billionaire, we are told. Forbes does not have any record of him or any of the businesses he has done. But we know people like him, how they get money. So Ngala Gerald, as a billionaire, because you cannot be a billionaire, genuine billionaire, and freely work in Cameroon. Cameroon government is not comfortable if you have financial liberty. And that's why they had to do everything to crumble the Fosso empire. If Fosso is in jail today, because they suspected Cameroon government, anybody that's financially viable, if you're not loyal to them, you're going to get you out of the way. So how is Ngala Gerald existing? Ngala Gerald is existing because you would expect a young man like Ngala Gerald that probably he is the only person that understands what millions is about in his community. He's from Kambe, Ndu. He would have some sympathy. But because he is a gatekeeper of the Franco-Bulu Beti hegemony in Ambazonia, he will go the extra mile of funding the Mbororo Herdsmen. Ngala Gerald is the #1 funder. We have reports, we have evidence to that. If Ngala Gerald, let Ngala Gerald take what we are saying now to court. 11 February this year, an IED exploded at the grandstand in Ndu, and those who claim responsibility were the vigilante, well-armed vigilante group organized and funded by Ngala Gerald. We need to understand which law in Cameroon law that says that a civilian, because he is a CPDM loyalist, should have armed groups. Are they saying that the Cameroon military is not sufficient? So these are different ways by which we saw what Moja Moja did to civilians, right? So these are different ways by which we have seen Cameroon directly and indirectly fund terrorist groups. We know that even Tchiroma, that was running for presidency, had a very strong fellowship with Boko Haram up north. So why are they taking funding from the United States that they want to fight terrorists up north? No, they took money from the United States to fight the same people they call their own people. Why they enable Boko Haram? Boko Haram, the same thing in Nigeria. Nigerians are saying that the Nigerian government has never been intentional about Boko Haram. It's the Nigerian government telling the world that they are incapable of neutralizing the activities of the Fulani herdsmen and Boko Haram? I don't think so. If they have government officials, recently we have seen over the news how the Nigerian government has negotiated with terrorists up north. But at the same time, they have some freedom fighters in their custody. So Ngala Gerald gets to the US embassy and gets his visa, comes into America, Galavan spends his money, goes into Squeeze and does everything, and gets back into Cameroon with armed groups that are oppressing his own people. He puts guns on their heads to wear CPDM outfits so that they can propagate poor Biya, a vegetables. Biya was just a ridicule on the day of his swearing in. He didn't even know his left from his right. That's the president that French Cameroon has voted into power. So much for us to discuss tonight. I thought that this introduction was necessary. And I know Barrister Fru and Barrister Mbeseha, they are both bubbling to react to these stories. I'll bring the both of them now. Barrister Fru, Barrister Tim, you're welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Good evening.
Thank you, Paddy. Thank you, Paddy. Thank you for inviting us once more.
Thank you this evening for having. Thank you for having us.
Briefly, before we get into the news, to hear what Star Smart and Tabitha would have to say. Very, very briefly. I'd like you both to interchangeably react to some of the things that we've just presented. We started by showing a Gana Valentine music that has been done for Mr. Biya and the terrorist activity funded by Biya's government and government officials and proxies in the Cameroons. But Fru, I will start with you.
Yes, Paddy. Before I start, let me make a little bit of correction on your monologue. Tchiroma is not in Nigeria. Tchiroma is in Garwa. Tchiroma went to Nigeria for 24 to 36 hours. Why did he go to Nigeria? It's left to be seen. He met with Nigerian authorities in Yola, and he came back. Why? Why did he go to Nigeria? Having said that, what this regime did to Frundi and Kamto, they cannot do it to a Hausa man. This time, Biya has touched a tail that will end up killing him. The fact that Biya took oath in parliament after fraudulently declaring himself a winner does not mean he can govern. If anybody is writing off Tchiroma, then that person does not know the northern Cameroon, which is in the Sahel, and the rest of Cameroon. Half of Cameroon, almost half, I wouldn't say, almost half of Cameroon is in the north. And I don't see how this Tchiroma is going to give up. Tchiroma is planning a fourth strategy. He has gone through three. He has borrowed, the third one he borrowed the playbook of the Ambazonia revolution, the Ambazonian struggle, ghost towns, and he succeeded largely. Let me leave that aside and go to Nigeria. If Nigerian government was serious during the days of Buhari, they would have gotten rid of Boko Haram. Nigerian government has the most powerful and most volatile army on the Black African continent. Nigeria has all the military means to eradicate Boko Haram. But why is Boko Haram still thriving? Because northern Nigeria is made up of Fulanis and Hausas who are sympathetic to Boko Haram because Boko Haram was created by them. They are using the Fulanis through Boko Haram to kill Christians. So President Trump is right. If they don't, like President Trump said, if they don't eradicate Boko Haram to stop Boko Haram from killing Christians, America as a world power and more than 90% Christians has a moral duty not to attack Nigeria, but to attack Boko Haram and eradicate it. You may want to know, Paddy, that Nigerian and the American government has been funding the task force that was created between Nigeria, Cameroon, and Chad to fight Boko Haram. They financed it, they armed it, but it did not produce results because of the ethnic situation in that part of the world. The Fulanis are the ones who created Boko Haram. Boko Haram thrives in Nigeria, tribes in extreme north of Cameroon and was successfully kept at bay by the Chadian government. So that task force has since collapsed through Biden. The U.S. ambassador in Yaoundé is still the appointee of President Biden and is a homosexual that arrived in Yaoundé. He is the U.S. ambassador in Yaoundé and is calling the shots and he's supporting the regime in Yaoundé against us. Let's call the spade a spade. And the U.S. government knows that. The President Trump has not appointed the Cameroon ambassador to Yaoundé. So whatever the U.S. embassy says in Yaoundé probably does not engage the Trump administration, because that man there is not there because of Trump. It's Biden's appointee. And because of what is happening, can you imagine that the president of the Foreign Relations Committee wrote about Cameroon, published a communique about Cameroon and its fraudulent election and all the evil things that are going on in Cameroon, and stated that Cameroon is not a partner of the United States. And the very next day or two, a U.S. embassy in Yaoundé issues a communique congratulating Biya. That is the only Western country through its embassy that has congratulated Mr. Biya. Everybody in the world has abandoned Mr. Biya. Unlike 2018, the Constitutional Council, the proclamation was boycotted by all the embassies in Yaoundé, and the diplomatic community has been quiet. The United Nations has issued, through its Secretary General, issued a communique. And now this weekend there's a debate in the Security Council as to investigating Cameroon. That is going on now. The European Union has completely destroyed Cameroon, and they are waiting for the United Nations to see what will happen. So Cameroon has been isolated by the world. The only people that recognize that, send congratulation messages to Mr. Biya were Tarh, Equatorial Guinea, Central African Republic, and Gabon. Those are countries that boundary Cameroon. Yes, I'm just giving you. I'm giving you a panoramic review of what is going on. That you should know that Tchiroma is not done. What is going to happen, we don't know.
We're going to get back to that, Barrister Fru, in the course of this. I want to get a reaction from Barrister Mbeseha, so we can take some reports, and then when we come back, we'll get deep into it. We'll talk about the terrorist activity and many other things. So let me get your first remarks there, Barrister Mbeseha, so we can we can move into the newsroom and take some reports. Barrister Mbeseha, please.
Well, thank you, Paddy. You know, your introduction calls into analysis at least two things, if not three. You talked about President Trump promising to go and attack Nigeria to protect Christians. They talked about Boko Haram. Let me start with Nigeria and President Trump's threat to attack Nigeria to protect Christians. Is he going to attack Nigeria to protect Christians? To the best of my knowledge, he would not do that. It's a question of choice of interest. Presently, right in the United States, you and me are here. The United States is facing some serious political problems back home. The government is shut down. Why did they shut down the government? Over the budget. And you find them internally, as I saw, they are trying to cancel healthcare, they are trying to do all types of things in order to match their budget, just to get the budget passed. And so the threat to go and attack Nigeria to protect Christians is just a distraction. They are not going to do it. The Christians in Nigeria do not face more danger than the Christians in Saudi Arabia, where President Trump threats with them all the time. You're not going to do it. So that's just a distraction. Back to Boko Haram. Boko Haram has been in Nigeria or in the northern African area for more than 10 years. They didn't come there today. Is the government of Nigeria aware of them? Of course. They are complicit to the existence of Boko Haram. Is the American government aware of that? Of course. Mr. Nsoh, I just said about it. Until recently, there was a multinational force in North Africa. That multinational force included the United States, and they were there to fight Boko Haram, not only in Nigeria, but including Mali, including Niger, including Burkina Faso. Those were American soldiers there as well, with all the technology that they had. Where is the multinational force to fight Boko Haram? It is virtually disappeared. Is it because Boko Haram has ceased to exist? No. What were they doing there? Why have they disappeared? Why have they disappeared? The government of Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso simply chased them away because they were not even fighting Boko Haram. They were there for something else because they know where it is. Boko Haram is not limited to Nigeria, Mali, Burkina Faso, and part of Chad. It's also based in Cameroon. There's Boko Haram in Cameroon. A few years ago, Boko Haram adopted the wife of the Speaker of the National Assembly and asked for several billions. And the government of Cameroon paid the money. Besides that, the very Speaker of the National Assembly of Cameroon made a speech and said, Boko Haram is amongst us. He knew what he was saying. So there's Boko Haram over there. They are there with the knowledge of the government of Nigeria. Nobody can believe, even the dullest man in the world, that Boko Haram would, in the earlier stages, adopt 300 school children, drive them in trucks who have cell phones, and take them to unknown destinations until today. It's not possible. It's just not possible. Northern Nigeria or North Africa is Congo with the thick forest. It's savannah. And so they know where Boko Haram is. The Christians in northern Nigeria, when Boko Haram sweeps through a place, they don't go and select to pick only Christians. They pick anybody on their way, including any other Fulani people they find there and kill. They are not pinpointing Christians. Because I know I'm a Christian. There are so many Catholic outdaces in the north, Jos, Kaduna, they are there. So, yes, again, the Christians, they don't hate just Christians. They hate Western education. That's why they will close schools. Where those schools or whatever thing, they close the schools. That's their own mantra. The West knows all this. But are they willing to eliminate Boko Haram? They could, maybe. But they will never be able to eliminate Boko Haram in Nigeria, in Cameroon, in Niger, in Mali, or anywhere else without the active assistance of the governments of these countries. The government of Abuja knows where Boko Haram is. So they don't want to take it out.
Mr. Mbeseha,
I'm still coming to
let me
I'm coming to my second segment. Because I'm dealing with Boko Haram, I'm coming to all right.
Let me come in very quickly. Now, just to cue into what you're saying, truth be told is that there are those who argue that Muslims who become victims of these terrorist attacks are just collateral damages. And some of them don't mind to die and go and make these 60-something virgins. They're just collateral. The truth about it is these are Islamic extremist terrorist groups.
Yeah.
And their main targets are Christians. In 2014 or 13, the current president in Nigeria acknowledged that there was targeted killings against Christians. Cameroon is targeting Southern Cameroonians today, but the Bulus are also dying on the war front. So politicians always come with that argument, well, it's affecting everybody. Like when we started in 2016 to say that we are not happy with what is happening with us in the Cameroons. And they said every other region the East has an issue. So politicians always have a way of redirecting narratives to. So I just thought that I should intervene in that part of the conversation.
Yeah, no, well, I
So
understood. I was coming to say this. I was coming to learn with this. You said 2014, which is correct. That is 11, 12 years ago. Since 2014, for example, there have at least been 3 different governments in the United States, different presidents for that period of time. So they are aware of what is going on. The thing I wanted to say is this: Boko Haram operates, they kill people. Where do they, is there any arm factory in northern Nigeria anywhere where they manufacture the arms? No. Where do they get the arms? They come from somewhere
government
in
gives them
the
arms.
West. No, well, I don't want to say government. They come from somewhere in the West. Bottom line, it is government, it is somebody. I'm trying to say that there's some cooperation between the people who are claiming to be fighting Boko Haram and the Boko Haram itself. Then let me transition to Cameroon. You have said something about Cameroon, about Ngala Gerald. Before I go to Ngala Gerald.
Yes.
Before I go to Ngala Gerald, it is well known, documented publicly, that the government of Cameroon employs what they call vigilante to fight Ambazonia. The whole notion of vigilante is illegal. Vigilante is a sign of failure of.
I want to hold on to this word. The whole notion of vigilante is illegal, and it is that illegality that's going to form the next phase of our conversation. Just be patient with us, barristers. Let's get into the newsroom. Tabitha has some very important things to talk to us. We'll be back. We're going to focus at least 30 minutes to examine what Ngala Gerald, Paul Artanganji, and Konda titles before we get to Emmanuel Salai, what they are doing to fund terrorist activities in Cameroon just so that they can sabotage the Ambazonian freedom movement. Let's get into the newsroom. We'll be right back.
This week on the global scene, political tensions and governance debate have taken center stage. In the United States, the government shutdown continues to deepen partisan divisions, even as Democrats secure key electoral victories. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump's designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern has also sparked diplomatic conversations across the West Africa. And taking your attention over in East Africa, Tanzania faced deadly protests following its disputed election, with mounting concerns over human rights and accountability. Across the border in colonial French Cameroon, President Paul Biya has been sworn in once again, raising renewed questions about legitimacy, and even in the midst of the cries of the people and the cry of Tchiroma, the opposition leader. Now, at the same time, we see that international efforts are on the way to stabilize Gaza after the ceasefire, as global actors negotiate the next steps for humanitarian and security interventions. We see that these stories altogether and more will be explored in today's Global News. Welcome to Global News. I am Tabitha Ako. Let's begin. The United States President Donald Trump's recent comments describing Nigeria as a country of particular concern over Christian genocide, alongside his call for stronger U.S. intervention against Islamist terrorists, has sparked widespread debate among Nigerian politicians, religious groups, and civil society. Trump's remarks have revived ongoing questions about whether Nigeria is truly facing a coordinated religious persecution or a broader security breakdown driven by insurgency, banditry, and communal conflict. The president claimed that Christian communities in Nigeria are being slaughtered and that the Nigerian government has failed to protect them. President Donald Trump made a statement regarding this, saying the frequent genocide cases of Christian violence in Nigeria. Let's take a listen.
The killing of Christians is not going to happen. If the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria. We're going to do things to Nigeria that Nigeria is not going to be happy about and may very well go into that now disgraced country, Guns-Ablazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible, horrible atrocities.
President Donald Trump's statement drew attention once again to a long-running call and debate in Washington. Some United States lawmakers, including Texas Senator Ted Cruz, have consistently raised concerns about violence against Christian communities. Cruz cited figures widely circulated by advocacy organizations, stating that since 2009, more than 50,000 Christians have been killed and thousands of churches destroyed. However, Cruz stopped short of calling the situation a genocide, describing it as instead as systematic persecution on Christians. He accused Nigerian authorities of ignoring or even enabling extremist attacks. But the question is, are these terrorists even being funded? Are they funded? Let's take a listen.
We're also going to talk about legislation I introduced this week to protect Christians in Nigeria. Nigeria has seen a persecution of Christians that has been staggering. Just this week, over 60 people were murdered by jihadists, by radical Islamists in northeastern Nigeria. They executed soldiers. They went house to house. This pattern of targeting Christians, targeting Catholic priests, targeting individual men, women, and children is horrific. And my legislation would put real consequences on the government of Nigeria and those who are facilitating this persecution, put real consequences on them to change that.
Factual, the Nigerian government has rejected these claims. Officials say the country faces complex security challenges stemming from Boko Haram, Islamic State West African Province ISWAP, and armed criminal groups operating mostly in the northeast, northwest, and north central regions in Nigeria. The government maintains that its operations against insurgents are ongoing and that it has not abandoned any religion. But is that really true? And then if it has, why is the international community coming to the rescue of Christians in Nigeria? Some Nigerian politicians and analysts warn that Trump's framing risks oversimplifying a diverse conflict landscape where violence affects Muslims and Christians alike. Many note that Boko Haram's earliest victims included Muslim clerics who opposed extremist doctrine. Now, the debate has spilled into a public discourse over the week. A Nigerian content creator in the diaspora recently interviewed Nigerians on the street, asking whether Trump's comments reflect the situation on the ground and whether the United States' involvement in Nigeria's case is necessary. Responses were divided. Some expressed frustration over persistent insecurity and welcomed any help that could restore safety. Others cautioned that foreign intervention could threaten Nigeria's territorial sovereignty. Now, let's take a look at this video and let's get the response of people about Trump's invasion in Nigeria and the call for a proper look into the ongoing genocide in the country.
Some people are saying that the intervention of the international body, that's America right now, will bring about stability. Some other people are saying they should leave us. We're going to handle things ourselves. What do you say?
We don't need Trump to handle insecurity in Nigeria.
We can do it ourselves.
110%.
So, but we need this shake, and it was necessary.
We need a wake-up call. Maybe that's what Trump is doing, which makes sense, but he doesn't necessarily have to come with physically engage.
Where have you ever seen all over the world that America went into and got a place? Go and check Iraq, check Libya, check everywhere. Everywhere they went, they destroyed the place. Let's not go to Nigeria. We don't want it.
But Nigeria is a sovereign state.
He's a racist. He doesn't like Nigeria at all.
Do you think Donald Trump has Nigerians' best interests at heart, or do you think he has selfish reasons?
America always have interests wherever they go. It's just like what happened in Afghanistan. Once they vetted their interests, they will come with confusion like this now to get what they want to get from there. Then the people there will still benefit from that. That's why I say it's both.
Now, I want you to stand on a particular point.
I give it to Donald Trump.
You want him to come in?
Yes.
That country needs to be reformed. So if he's able to handle it, fine with him, without an interest.
The security thing, if they don't sort it out, why they let them come and take over and sort it out?
I think he's making an impact and it's a welcome development.
I would say Trump is right if you come to Nigeria. The way they are ruling Nigeria, it's not the right way. I remember about 4 weeks ago, I saw all those big people in the north, both governors, they sit down together, they want to negotiate with terrorists. Those terrorists the people are looking for.
President Donald Trump should come and make it right, says one of the participants with the interview right there. But we see that this concern draws from the history of U.S. military involvement in countries like Iraq, Syria, and Libya, where interventions began with counter-terrorism missions, but expanded into long conflicts with lasting political consequences. Analysts fear that framing Nigeria's crisis primarily as a religious war could create conditions for prolonged foreign oversight or pressure on domestic policy. Now, what prompted this moment? What prompted President Donald Trump to designate Nigeria as a country of particular concern? Nigeria has struggled for over a decade to contain Boko Haram, which gained international notoriety after kidnapping the Chibok schoolgirls in 2014. While the group's activities have been most concentrated in the Muslim Northeast, attacks on villages, churches, mosques, markets, and highways have affected multiple regions and communities. In recent years, splinter groups such as ISWAP have expanded their influence, while bandit gangs in the Northwest and Central State have carried out mass abductions and killings for ransom. Security analysts note that the Nigerian government, despite claiming major counter-insurgency victories, continues to face shortages in equipment, intelligence coordination, and rural defense capacity. And maybe this is the reason why Trump needs to come in. Now, looking ahead, it's necessary to note whether Trump's remarks will influence future U.S. policy. The U.S. has historically provided Nigeria with intelligence sharing, military training, and limited arms sales, although relations have sometimes been strained by human rights concerns linked to Nigerian security operations. For many Nigerians at this time, the core issue remains the same: improving security and restoring trust in the state's ability to protect its citizens. Whether international pressure accelerates this process or complicates it will depend largely on how both governments navigate the rhetoric in the coming weeks. Now, away from what is happening in Nigeria and taking you over to Gaza. The United States has begun formal negotiations at the United Nations Security Council to secure authorization for an international stabilization force in Gaza. This is intended to support the fragile ceasefire and oversee security and humanitarian operations in the devastated enclave. President Donald Trump said the deployment could happen very soon, pending the United Nations approval. Let's take a listen.
Very soon. It's going to be very soon. And Gaza's working out very well. And you haven't been hearing too much about problems. And I'll tell you, we've had countries that have volunteered if there's a problem with Hamas, as an example, or a problem with anything, but they volunteered to, on a single basis, go in and take care of it. It's not tentative. This is a very strong peace. This is peace in the Middle East. Hamas is a very small part of it, very, very small part. And if they don't do as they said, if they don't behave, then they've got themselves a big problem, a really big problem like they've never had.
Now, according to diplomatic briefing shared with Security Council members, the proposed force would operate under a 2-year mandate and would be tasked with stabilizing territory, securing border areas, coordinating humanitarian aid, and supporting the restructuring of local policing. The plan is part of a broader U.S. framework that includes establishing a transitional governing mechanism in Gaza to manage civil affairs during the post-conflict period. Washington has emphasized that United States ground troops will not take part in direct deployment, but several partner countries have indicated willingness to contribute personnel conditional on a United Nations mandate and clarity on rules of engagement. Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, Indonesia, and Azerbaijan are among states consulted, though some have signaled they will not participate if the ceasefire holds. Israel has opposed the involvement of certain prospective contributors, particularly Turkey, due to long-standing security tensions. Now we see that the stabilization plan reflects growing international concern over the security vacuum in Gaza following months of intense military operations and disruption of civil administration. The enclave faces extensive infrastructure damage, population displacement, and limited access to essential services. So without the coordinated security arrangements, UN officials warn that aid delivery, civilian protection, and reconstruction efforts risk collapse. However, the negotiations face significant diplomatic and political challenges, and a Security Council resolution must secure at least 9 affirmative votes and avoid vetoes from permanent members, including Russia and China. And these members have previously opposed the U.S.-led intervention frameworks. There is also uncertainty over how armed groups in Gaza would respond to a foreign security presence and whether demilitarization objectives can be enforced without renewed conflict. So while regional governments have broadly supported efforts to prevent a resurgence of hostilities in Gaza, they remain cautious about the long-term implications of foreign stabilization forces on Palestinian sovereignty and internal governance. Analysts also note that previous international missions in conflict zone have struggled with mandates limits and clear command structures or even mission creep. Now, for now, as we are saying, the timetable for deployment hinges on Security Council negotiations, troop commitment, and verification of ceasefire conditions. The United States is expected to intensify diplomatic outreach in the coming days as it seeks to secure support and address concerns among both regional partners and UN member states. This is what is happening right here, and the updates coming over from the Israel and Gaza ceasefire. Now, taking your attention over to Africa in Tanzania. Tanzania is facing mounting political tension following the October general election as security forces continue to break up protests contesting the result, and dozens of opposition supporters face treason charges. The election, which returned President Samia Suluhu Hassan, which brought about a very long margin. The regional observers who say the process lacked transparency and competitive participation were part of this whole situation. Protests erupted in several cities after the Electoral Commission announced the result, with demonstrators alleging irregularities and exclusion of major opposition contenders. Security forces responded with curfews, roadblocks, mass arrests, and tight control over public assembly. Human rights organizations have reported casualties during the unrest, though the full scale of death and injuries remain unclear due to restricted access and temporary internet shutdowns imposed during the protests. But why would the government impose an internet shutdown when the people are protesting and crying for a change of governance? Let's take a look.
polisi wa Tanzania warudi wakapeleke usenge huko.
That we see that court filings reviewed by international media show that more than 100 people have been charged with treason and criminal conspiracy related to demonstrations. Treason carries a possible death sentence under Tanzania law, signaling an escalation in how the state is responding to civil unrest. Prosecutors argue the accused attempted to undermine national stability, while civil society groups say the charges are being used to suppress dissent. But is that what we see, especially in Africa? The African Union Observer Mission stated that the election did not fully meet democratic standards, pointing to reports of ballot manipulation, disqualification of opposition candidates, and constraints on campaigning in the media. The government has defended the vote as free and orderly, insisting that its actions since the election are necessary to maintain public order. Analysts say the crisis reflects deeper fractures in Tanzania's political system. The ruling party remains a broad administrative and security control, but widespread protests suggest that confidence in the electoral process is weakening, especially among young urban voters. But the case of Tanzania is definitely similar with the case in French Cameroon, where the voices of dissent is usually silent. The deployment of military personnel and the broad use of treason charges indicates a security-first approach rather than one that seeks a negotiation or electoral reform. Now, the protests also come at a time when Tanzania is positioning itself as a stable economic hub in East Africa. Prolonged unrest and international concern about democratic governance could affect investor sentiment and regional diplomatic relations. So whether the government moves toward dialogue or continues with enforced containment will shape the stability of the coming months. Now we see that regional bodies, including the African Union and East African Community, are monitoring development, but no formal mediation process has yet been initiated. Opposition parties have called for independent investigations into the election and security response, while civil groups warn that prolonged suppression risks driving opposition's movement on the ground. For now, the situation remains fluid, with further demonstrations possible as legal cases proceed and the public wait for clearer accountability over the use of force and the integrity of the election result. Now, this is all we have in today on the global scene, and we from here will be moving definitely to reports coming from the home front. But at this junction, we'll be heading it over to our news director, Mr. Tarh.
That was indeed a great one there, Tabitha Ako. This is Africa. Africa is a donkey hole. So before we even get into the reports coming in from the home front, where we're going to focus on Cameroon's terrorist activities, I really want us to look at Africa and to tell us why the current Africa as it is, looking at what Nigeria is doing, looking at what Cameroon is doing, what Tanzania is doing. Why should citizens not hope that maybe Donald Trump is not just coming for some political interest, but is coming as the messianic force that is required at this time? Mr. Fru, please.
Yes, Paddy, I am one of those who believe that President Trump is coming as a messianic force. Because we black people, we tend to blame the West. We tend to blame every other person but ourselves. I cannot imagine that in Tanzania, where Julius Nyerere established a stable, viable, democratic nation formed by Tanganyika and Zanzibar, is now an object of ridicule in the world. These African leaders have a way of bringing conflict in their territories. In Tanzania, the ruling junta did everything to exclude competitive candidates for the election, for the presidential election. And they ended up with non-entities and ended up winning 97 point something percent. That is the reaction on the ground by the people. Nyerere in his grave could not have thought this happening in Tanzania. In the case of Cameroon, the same thing. Biya did everything to exclude Professor Kanto, who was the most competitive candidate in the run for presidential election. But what he did not know was that Tchiroma, who had served in his government, would have the support of Union for Change, piloted by two powerful La Republique people, Jankan Chamani and Innocent Aikani, who are now in jail. And Professor Abai, you know, who happens to come from Trump's, from Biya's region, and was an advisor to Tchiroma, is also in jail. And listen, I am getting very tired of our people of the African continent, particularly we black people. We have not learned a lesson in the centuries where our kings and everybody gave a part of our people to the Americans for slavery. We have not come out of despotism. We are still behaving as kings in everywhere that we rule. Imagine a 43-year-old man having stayed in power for 43 years, for a 93-year-old man having stayed in power for 43 years. And in a dilapidated state of dementia. At 93, he has dementia, and he did everything to fraud elections in La Republique of Cameroon in order to win. I mean, what is wrong with us? I think Trump should not only intervene in Nigeria, he should also intervene in Tanzania and Cameroon, because we are unable to stabilize ourselves. What is going on? Cameroon started a war, Biya started a war against the Ambazonia people on the 30th of November 2017. We have been fighting a war for plus minus 10 years. And he connives now with terrorists from the north
to kill our people. We'll come to that. Let's quickly hear your perspective on this issue, Mr. Mbeseha, before, so we can take some reports from the home front. Mr. Mbeseha, please talk to us.
Well, I'm having a problem all the time because you don't let me finish my segment. The last one we were analyzing was Boko Haram. I have not even concluded when you changed. But
we're going to come to Boko Haram. It's just that I'm trying to stop
the whole night here. Let me just finish. Country in the world, powerful country, come to change Africa by military means? Absolutely no, they can't. If Trump is coming to Nigeria or to anywhere, are they coming to fight Boko Haram or they're coming to fight and change the government? We don't know which. There are so many ways those international countries, the United States, Great Britain and others, can hold Nigeria, Cameroon, or any other country accountable for that war. War, they have tried it before because they are powerful. They didn't solve the problem. The war in Libya did not solve the Libyan problem, where Gaddafi had been there for 43 years. The war in Afghanistan by the Americans did not solve the problem. The war in Lebanon did not solve the problem. The senator from Texas said that he was introducing legislation to handle those countries accountable. That is the right approach. The threat of war is not even worth the thing. It's not worth doing it because you will not succeed militarily. But what is happening in Africa, you ask, politically? You see, sometimes we make the mistake of comparing two non-identical things. What is happening in Tanzania cannot be compared to what is going on in Cameroon. In Tanzania, there's an uprising, but they're rising against who? They're rising against a president who is coming for the first time in office to serve a full term. She's been there for 3-4 years now, serving the term of the last president who died. She was the vice president. So she's just trying to take a full term for herself, just 4 years. And the fraud is alleged. The population is out, stopping her. This is not the same like Cameroon, where somebody has been sitting there for 40 years, 43 years, and has never handled any elections. And so those are two different things. I've often said here, most of the time that we talk here, I say that different countries, especially Africans, you have the government you deserve. See the way people are fighting in Tanzania. Tanzania is like Cameroon, because that is the country that united with Zanzibar, Tanganyika and Zanzibar, who came together. That woman is from Zanzibar, because their own constitution provided that if the president came from the mainland, the vice must come from the other land, from Zanzibar. The late president who died in 2000, just about 4 years ago, came from the mainland. The vice was that lady who succeeded to finish the term. And she's about taking the first term now, full term of 4 or 5 years, I think. And so you find the population rising against whatever thing is going on there. That is how you fight for your freedom. In Cameroon, it has been just too much. The reaction in Cameroon, even though we appreciate it, is not even the magnitude of what is happening in Tanzania. So there are not two things to compare here. And so Africans have the government they deserve. If they want those governments change, they will change. Again, I've said all the time that I did not even believe in any election in Cameroon. I also said that come October, there will be somebody appointed in Cameroon, call it Biya, come to anybody, by some mysterious means, who will come in and meet us Ambazonians to settle our dispute. Because Cameroon is completely different, even politically, by political culture, from Ambazonia. We're English speaking. What is happening in Cameroon today will never happen in Cameroon. What is happening in Cameroon today will never have happened in Tanzania, where somebody will remain in power for 43 years and then be fighting to take another term. So let the people fight for their rights. I believe strongly that the 2025 elections in Cameroon are completely different from what has been in the past. I don't care whether Tchiroma is in Ngala, he's in Marawa, he's in Jos, he's in Japan. Cameroon will never be the same again. Because the people are rising, and at least a good proportion of the people are realizing that they have the right to some freedom. They have the right to choose their own candidates. And the ruling clique, which is there, which is always going to be there, they are just thieves who have manipulated the system forever and ever to help themselves. I was trying to say in the last segment, you mentioned Ngala Gerald, these people who steal the money. And I said that the idea of vigilante that they recruit is not internationally illegal. They are not supposed to do that anywhere in the world. Once the government resorts to vigilante, it's an acknowledgement that you have failed in your intelligence. Because there's always everything wrong in every country. And then they have announced publicly that they have this vigilante. The embassies in Yaoundé know they have vigilante. They use them all the time to do all the terrible things that they do. And they don't even hide it. When they do back their vigilante, listen to them. They are also clever in their politics. They always say this act is committed by unidentified men. unidentified, and we don't even say Amba, they say unidentified Amba boys.
So you see, by Mbeseha, you see, I'm not cutting you. I'm just trying for us to go chronologically because we have a report that covers what you're saying. So I want us to take it systematically. We have discussed the first one. I'm not cutting your thought. We'll definitely come back to that thought and then we'll handle it. But I just wanted us to look at what is happening in Africa generally. Then we'll get into the Cameroun government specifically and how they are funding terrorist activities on the ground. Right now, I'd like us to take some reports that are coming in from the home front, precisely before we get into that. There are lots of reports that are coming in from the home front. Let's take those reports now, and then we'll come back to get some analysis relatively.
Well, on the reports reaching the ground says, according to information, the recent congratulatory message from the United States to French Cameroon's President Paul Biya following his re-election has ignited widespread anger amongst Cameroonians. Now, particularly in the days after his swearing-in ceremony, many citizens and opposition supporters expressed disbelief that Washington and other Western powers would swiftly acknowledge what they describe as a flawed and unrepresentative electoral process. The announcement came amid ongoing protests and sporadic violence in major cities, with demonstrators rejecting the official results that handed Paul Biya yet another term after more than 4 decades in power. For many French Cameroonians, the endorsement from foreign government felt like a painful reminder of how international diplomacy often overlooks the lived realities of ordinary citizens. While civil society groups and opposition parties have decried widespread irregularities and intimidation during the polls, the congratulatory gestures from global powers were seen as a legitimization of what critics labeled a manufactured victory. Anger has spilled onto social media, with many citizens accusing Western countries of hypocrisy, championing democracy in rhetoric, but supporting long-serving leaders when it suits their interests. The discontent was particularly strong amongst French-speaking Cameroonians, some of whom expressed shock that traditional allies such as France and the United States would so quickly recognize Biya's win. In Douala and Yaoundé, residents voiced frustration that after decades of promises and stagnation, the international community still chooses political stability over democratic accountability. The feeling of betrayal has been compounded by the continued economic hardship and security crisis in the southern Cameroons, which many blame on the same leadership the West now congratulates. Diplomatic analysts say the situation underscores a broader truth about international relations. Nations act primarily based on strategic interest, not emotion. For the United States and its allies, Cameroon remains an important partner in Central Africa, both for counter-terrorism operations and for maintaining regional stability. Recognizing Paul Biya's presidency despite local opposition, therefore reflects a pragmatic calculation rather than a moral endorsement. Former American diplomats have hinted that Washington has no choice but to work with whoever holds power in Yaoundé. That logic, however, has deepened resentment at home, as many Cameroonians argue that such external validation emboldens authoritarian tendencies and silences genuine calls for change. They see it as another example of how Western democracies preach good governance abroad while turning a blind eye when it conflicts with their own geopolitical interests. Now, the gap between the aspirations of ordinary people and the priorities of powerful nations has rarely felt wider. As protests continue and security forces tighten their grip, Cameroon stands at a critical juncture. The government celebrates another term of continuity, while citizens question whether their voices still matter in shaping the nation's future. The international community's congratulatory stance may have ensured short-term diplomatic stability, but at the cost of deepening domestic frustration and eroding faith in both global partners and the promise of democracy itself. Well, while a lot are reeling from this hypocrisy on international borders, we see the arrest of a Bamenda-based journalist Paul Kemafru by security forces, widely referred to as President Paul Biya's Gestapo, has sent shockwaves through Cameroon's media, reigniting fear about the rapid decline of press freedom in the country. We see Kemafru's detention, which was reported on Thursday, coming amid a climate of heightened surveillance and intimidation, targeting journalists who dare to question the official narrative surrounding the recent disputed elections. His case is the latest in a series of actions viewed as part of a broader effort to silence dissenting voices. Now, for years, Cameroonian journalists have operated under an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty. Reporters covering politically sensitive issues, ranging from corruption to the conflicts in southern Cameroon, routinely face harassment, arbitrary arrest, or the threat of forced disappearance. While the latest arrest underscores the increasing dangers faced by members of the press, particularly those working outside Yaoundé and Douala, where independent coverage is already scarce and state security networks are deeply entrenched. While in Bamenda and across the Northwest region, journalists walk a perilous line between reporting truth and preserving their safety. Many resort to self-censorship, knowing that a critical story can invite surveillance or imprisonment. With authorities...
This is the voice of Ambazonia. Truth in resistance, clarity in crisis. Today is Saturday, September 20th, 2025. Today, we present the indictment written at France, architects and sustainers of the Ambazonian genocide. Fellow Ambazonians, what you are about to hear is not mere commentary. It is an act of indictment, a case before the court of history and the conscience of humanity. In 1946, Britain received a mandate from the United Nations. Its duty was to prepare the southern Cameroon's, today's Ambazonia, for independence. But by 1961, that mission had become betrayal. The plebiscite denied independence. Only two options were imposed: join Nigeria or join French Cameroon. UN Resolution 1608 required a treaty of union. That treaty was never signed. Britain walked away. France stepped in through occupation. This was not independence. This was abandonment. In 1972, Ahmadou Ahidjo abolished federalism with a fraudulent referendum. Britain was silent. In 1962, during the Falklands War, a secret deal was struck: exocet missiles in exchange for the sacrifice of Ambazonia. In 1984, Paul Biya visited London. From Cameroon's treasury, he paid £1 million. It was the price of British silence. Britain sold Ambazonia for weapons and money. In 1990, François Mitterrand declared in Yaoundé that no Anglophone would ever rule Cameroon. Britain said nothing. In 1992, John Frundi mounted a credible challenge to Paul Biya. The ballot was rigged. Britain dismissed it, saying there was no strategic interest in Ambazonia. Meanwhile, French warships docked in Douala, missiles aimed at Bamenda. It was the United States that exposed the plan. It was the Cameroon Post that published the satellite proof. The plan was aborted. The editor, Paddy, was arrested. Britain remained silent. While London and Paris looked away, French Cameroon dismantled Ambazonia's economy. The CDC was plundered. The Cameroon Bank was ruined. Airports in Tico, Bali, Bisogama, and Quang were closed. Tea estates in Tole and Do were liquidated. Santa Coffee destroyed. The Cameroon Society of Engineers was banned. Ombe Technical College was downgraded to a bilingual high school. Wada and Mideno were dissolved. Niba Motors, Nanga and Che companies were ruined. Hospitals were shifted to French Cameroon. common law magistrates were replaced by civil law judges. This was not reform, it was strangulation. In 1995, Cameroon applied to join the Commonwealth. It was unqualified. Its human rights records was appalling. Britain supported it anyway. Since then, Paul Biya has never met human rights standards. He has never been sanctioned. Southern Cameroonians have been silenced and excluded from representation. Nigeria was suspended for coups, Zimbabwe for land seizure, Fiji for undemocratic rule. But Paul Biya, presiding over genocide, sits unchallenged. Patricia Scotland dined with Biya, while villages burned. Prince Charles visited coral forest, promised a transformer for Bamenda, later diverted to French Cameroon. Britain remained silent. Today, Britain invests more in carbon sink experiments on Baumayo than in Ambazonia's survival. Britain's presence in Ambazonia today is reduced to making speeches in Pidgin English and token micro grants to chiefs and farms. By contrast, America has never left Ambazonia. Doctors are trained locally with United States assistance and serve at Bingo and Banso, treating both Ambazonians and French Cameroonians. Peace Corps volunteers continue to teach STEM, health, and English in Bamenda, Banso, Boya, and Moleko. The spirit of J.F. Kennedy, though assassinated in 1963, still lives in Ambazonia's classrooms, hospitals, and homes. And when the UN Secretary General investigated British betrayal in 1961, he personally visited Boya. On his way to the Congo, his plane crashed. Accident or sabotage. Britain and France stand indicted for betrayal of trusteeship, for selling Ambazonia for weapons and money, for sustaining Paul Biya's genocidal regime, for dismantling Ambazonia's economy and institutions, and for protecting genocide inside the Commonwealth. They are guilty. Guilty of betrayal, guilty of complicity, guilty of sustaining genocide for oil, for bananas, for contracts, for power. Guilty. The question is no longer whether Britain will act. The question is whether Ambazonians at home and in the diaspora will break the silence Britain has chosen. Because history has already delivered its verdict. And one day, Britain's silence will break. This has been the voice of Ambazonia. Truth in resistance, clarity in crisis.
Sorry for the technical issues we're having there, by Fru. So I want us to have a quick conversation now on the aspect that we've been looking forward to talk on. By Mbeseha, you have the opportunity to talk now, and we need to get into this. It's a very important subject. On one side, Barrister Mbeseha feels that he's not really seeing a logical framework that America can intervene in this situation. But you would realize that the people of the Southern Cameroons are overwhelmed with the high-headedness of African leadership. And they can't take it no more. The people of Africa are tired of the high-headedness of African leadership. You can't imagine what has just happened in French Cameroon, where the government intimidates youths from even protesting. Biya and his cabal will steal elections in broad daylight, and nobody is saying anything. And people who choose to defend themselves from their hegemony and genocide, they will use their proxies like a Tanganji, who is a government official, I don't think he's a proxy, like Ngala Gerald. Ngala Gerald will form armed men, bandits from Nigeria, the Mbororos, to kill and brutalize and intimidate his own people just because he wants to have Biya forever in control of what is happening in southern Cameroon. It's terrible. So perhaps Trump is not perfect, but you see some of the youths like in Nigeria we have seen, they are in the middle of the sea. They will look forward to, they want to hold even the neck of a snake in a drowning middle sea. This is where we find ourselves. Please, Barrister Fru, let me begin with you. Barrister Mbeseha, right after now, we'll get into the intricacy of everything. Barrister Fru, please.
Yes, Paddy. Young Africans are beginning to show that they are up to the task. They have liberated Burkina Faso. They have liberated Mali. They have liberated Niger. And the young Africans that voted for Tchiroma in La République du Cameroon, if they give up now, we are doomed. They are doomed. They are doomed. Our young people in Ambazonia are the ones leading the fight for liberation. And we, the old people, must know that we have to cede power to the young people. If we have our sovereignty and we get on the ground, we have to cede power to the young people. And the young people are now trying to liberate Africa from these old heads, these sit-tight dictators of the African continent. Look at Ouattara, look at Biya, look at Obiangema, look at Sassou Nguesso in the Congo. Look at all what is happening. Africa needs to be liberated. We black people will have that duty to liberate Africa. And it's not we the old people, it's mostly the young people. And they have shown it in Cameroon. They elected Tchiroma, and look at what happened. They are fighting. And I made this statement before. Trudy might have been defeated by Biya after Biya rigged the election. Kamto might have been defeated by Biya after Biya rigged the election. But I don't see how, even after he has taken oath, that government will sustain. Where will they govern? The northern part of Cameroon used to give Biya the victories that he claimed he had. He has never won election, but he uses the north to claim that he has won election. But let me say this, the northern part of Cameroon are made up of Islamic people. And those are people who don't forget easily. They will not give in easily. They are showing it right now as we speak. They have two options. If Tchiroma is not the president of La République du Cameroon, the north will be split from Adamawa North and extreme north will form their own country. And I don't know what they are going to do with Littoral, because Littoral voted for Tchiroma. And the West. The West is the one that is struggling. Those are the people who are going to suffer more in this whole thing, because they have been whimsical from the beginning. Now they have voted Tchiroma in their large majority. Let's see what is going to happen. I'm talking because young people are involved. They are the ones at the forefront. Tchiroma has said he's got to be there only for 5 years to put together. Let me finish.
Go ahead.
To put together a transitional government and walk away, because he too is 76 years old. And this is the problem of Africa. This is the problem of Africa. And to crown it all, Even the young people who are rich in Africa have tended to fund terrorism. Look at Ngala Gerald. He claims he's a lawyer. I don't know. Maybe he became a lawyer after I left. And he is funding terrorism in the northern part of Ambazonia, bringing Fulanese, forming vigilante groups to fight our people, to annihilate our people. They planted a bomb in Cambe, they planted a bomb in Cambe during March past of 11 February, and they exploded and wounded and killed children. La Republique has never made one statement about that.
Why would they do it? They wanted to use it to blame Ambazonians.
We the old people should begin to think that these young people are the ones to liberate us, the dying ones. If you want to sit an old man, you want to take power and sit there, be my guest. You are going nowhere, because the young people must liberate the African continent. Starting with us in Ambazonia, when we get to Biya, we should give our hand over power to the young people and walk away, go to sleep. Let's not get carried away.
So, you're actually saying that the reason why Cameroon will go at every extra mile, because they want to stop Ambazonia resistance, sabotage it from the international community. They want to interpuncture the youths when they know they are military, because they are afraid of the ICC, and they can't use their military to continuously do things publicly, like we saw them beheading Sam Sawyer on camera and shooting babies.
Exactly. They are now using terrorists. They are now using terrorists.
They are using terrorist groups funded by Ngala, Gerald, Atangan, Nsoh, and conduct titles, goes even into his village with armed men to kill civilians. This is where I want you to come in, Barrister Mbeseha, before I come back to you, Barrister Fru.
Well, my problem is that sometimes we overgeneralize things. Africa, when you say Africa, you're not referring to anybody. The 54 countries of Africa are so different. So different that you cannot, for example, leave the United States and say you want to go and liberate Africa. No, you want to go and liberate a particular country. Because these countries and the foreign powers that we talk about deal with interests. Where is the interest of the United States? Where is the interest of the UK? Where is the interest of Russia? And so on and so forth. And that's why, from the segment you said there, say they recognize even illegal regimes. Because what they look for at that level, when we're talking about diplomacy, is stability. That's why they recognize coup d'etats. Once you make a coup and you're in full control, they recognize you. You take a seat even at the United Nations and move on. But coming back to Cameroon, the Ngala Gerald, the Atanganji, who are said to be very rich, and they are doing all these things with money, cash. Cameroon, to the best of my knowledge, is the only country that I know which I can describe as international bank robbers. The money Atanganji uses, the money Ngala Gerald uses, is not money taken from somewhere else. It's money taken from the budget of Cameroon. The money that would have been used in digging a road, in building a school. They steal the money, cash, stockpile it in their homes, pay the vigilante the way they want, bribe people the way they want, and then go free. Because even if you bring them under the United States, it will be difficult for you to charge them under the money laundering, because they steal the money, cash, and keep there. Put it in their house. Remember the story of this, which come with planes and give them cash. We have seen pictures of ministers' houses open with rooms upon rooms full of cash. This is the first time in the history of the world I've seen that type of thing. Ngala Gerald is rich, not because he knows anything, but it's rich because the government gives him the budget. Even in their budget, They have whether chapter 14, chapter 65, whatever it is, which gives you the budget of the state to go and do what you like without any accountability. They come to elections, the government funds you with the government taxpayers' money to go and bribe people. And so they go and use that money to buy the vigilante. So that they were there. It's not that they're afraid to use a soldier, they are just overwhelmed. They can't do it. And so they find these people who are not trained to fight for them. And when the people commit the crimes, what do they say? They say, identify the gunmen. And what do they add? Investigations are continuing. And results will never come out anywhere. But do the people of Yaoundé, the minister, the diplomats in Yaoundé, are they aware of this? They are aware of this. The vigilante thing and what they do is not secret. It has been documented and accepted by the government of Cameroon themselves. Why no action is taken? The only reason why no action is taken is those countries that ought to take action have an interest not to take the action. The action that we're expecting, or anybody is expecting from the Americans, from the French, from the British, is not to land their troops in Yaoundé, or to land their troops in Lagos, or somewhere else, and go and fight there. They have the tools to influence and control these systems. And they are not doing it because they don't want to do it. During this summer, you gave a narration of the history that already did to us from day one. The British interest when they came to Africa, just like the French, when they created colonies, was purely economic. They were not coming to save Africans. As far as Southern Cameroon is concerned, the British that administered Southern Cameroon as a trust territory or under the League of Nations never had any interest in having you get independent. So in 1953, when Southern Cameroonians withdrew from Enugu, it was an embarrassment to the UK. And that's why they fabricated all these stories of our inability to rule ourselves. While Gambia would have independence, Southern Cameroon could not have. While Lesotho will have independence, Southern could not even have. Southern Cameroon could not have. So they created all these things just to justify where their interests lay. When they left Nigeria in 1960, they knew the oil of the Niger, the Delta Belgian gas depot. They knew the extended right in there. They knew all those things. They wanted to keep it. They believed that Nigeria, the former colony, was very linked to them. And then they would exploit the place as they want. Now, over to what is going on in Cameroon. Ambazonians, Mr. Nsoh has said, we need the youths. But our problem is not that you and me are not talking. Our problem is that the youths that we are calling upon to take over this thing and fight and free. The majority are so freezing, I don't know. There are at least 500,000 Ambazonians outside. How many of them have joined us to contribute even $20 a month, $20 a year? Our children from KBLM, from every village, who live in the United States and go home. And they on motorbike go there. They too are harassed on the roads to take money from them. And they are in America, they are in London, they are in Japan, who are contributing all this money to go and fight back home to restore these things. They are not interested. The same goes to the ones at home. And so until you stand up and fight for what you want, when you fight, you might be lucky, and often you're lucky, to have, say, the Americans, to have some foreign power who will come to support your effort. Because the international community is not concerned about, it's not so much concerned about democracy, good governance now. Because if you go to the United Nations, where there are 192, 93 countries in the United Nations, which is the ideal government there? Almost none. American is different. China is different, North Ireland is different, North Korea is different, and so on and so forth. But again, I've said, and I'm insisting always on this, you have the government you deserve. Ambazonians are fighting and after the presidential elections. I saw our neighbors saying, oh, Ambazonia had something, They have been fighting. They now realize that we could fight. Are they going to fight like us? I don't know. But they must fight if they want to get a change in their own country. There are very few countries in the world where a single person has ruled for 43 years. And there's no other country in the world where somebody at 93 is looking for another 7-year term. How many countries in the world even have 7-year terms? Most of the terms are 4 years, 5 years, renewable ones. But Cameroon, one of the exceptions in the world, that has 7-year terms that they are giving somebody, a 93-year-old, to take. And I don't know whether my analysis is correct. If you see the picture which you just showed us here on the screen, the picture of Paul Biya, does that look a human being? Ordinarily. That guy, I've seen his picture forever. This man is peeling white. It looks like he has no blood in his body. He looks like a corpse. Look at the aide-de-camp standing behind him is black, and the surrounding man is black. Paul Biya is like chalk. And they're fighting to give him another term. But are they fighting even to give Paul Biya a term? No. They are fighting to use the name Paul Biya to steal, to usurp positions, to put themselves in places where they can steal cash and then do what they want to do. It is not about Paul Biya. Because you find that even yesterday, you found that when they are storing in Paul Biya doesn't even know where he is. He's gone. Is it time for me to stand up? Unfortunately, they are there. The videos are there now. The audio is recorded. This man was to be speaking, asking whether it's time for him to stand up. He doesn't even know what he's going to do that. Do you think this man wants to be the president? No. This is the man they want to use to usurp the authority of the state, to steal from the country, and to go away. And then, of course, our problem that we face all the time is, why are the British, the French, the Americans keeping quiet about these things? Because Sonia said that the ambassador of the United States in Yaoundé is a burden upon thee. He might be. But whatever the case, he represents the United States. He represents the United States. As he represents the government, the Trump administration. So there's no excuse that he was appointed by Biden or anybody. No, he represents the United States. Should this have happened? No. Given that almost everybody except the CPDM people, we all know that it was a fraud, orchestrated without shame publicly. Paul Biya, the CPDM did not win the elections. They stole. In open daylight, they are armed robbers. They stole like armed robbery with guns. And then, of course, what is going on is going on. But again, as I said earlier, Cameroon, to the best of our knowledge, that country will never be the same. Even if Tchiroma fell down today and died, the country will not be the same again. People have taken up arms. They have taken, not even arms, they are throwing stones, running on feet with their pieces of sticks. They succeed. All what they need is to persist on what they are doing. Because the international,
it would appear Mr. Mbeseha is facing some connectivity issue there. But I think he's in line with what we... Okay, you got disconnected there. Come back. We can hear you now. Go ahead.
So I was saying that people should see the right is theirs. Because what is happening in this year is not unique. There have been cases in Africa and around the world where someone was declared the victor, and 2 months, 1 month after that, that thing changed. The case of Cote d'Ivoire is a good example. In 2010, a similar thing like this happened in Cote d'Ivoire. The election commission declared that Ouattara was the victor. He had won. The Constitutional Council, led by Gbagbo's guy, changed the thing and said Gbagbo had won. And they even swore in Gbagbo. 2 months after that, the very president of the Constitutional Council came back to rule that based on what the international community had said and other observers, Gbagbo did not win. He issued the second order. That is Ouattara, that's one. precedent. You can cheat people all the time, sometimes, but not all the time. What happened in Cote d'Ivoire, I think, could happen in Cameroon. Because this thing is so manifest that everybody knew that Paul Biya and the CPDM didn't win. They never won. They stole the elections. Even if the US embassy or whoever recognizes them, that is a very tiny proportion of what the CPDM was expecting from the international recognition. Recognition from Gabon, recognition from Chad is no recognition. And so let the Cameroonians who voted against Paul Biya insist on the right, do what they can. I don't know what strategy they have, but to think that the thing is over, it is not over.
Yeah, we're getting on the strategies that the people can put in place if they have any, if they have the courage to follow up with a strategy like Ambazonia has followed for 10 years. But this is what I want us to focus on. It is a system. It is a network. It has been franchised from Nigeria into Cameroon. And this, we're talking about statesmen, supposed government officials. Reports and records have it that Boko Haram was initiated by someone who was formerly a governor. Evidence has also proven that the Fulani herdsmen are used by politicians for for political reasons, either to take over territories. We are told that where the Fulani herdsmen have gone and raised down villages, kill people, months later you go there and find people are raising cattle. So it's ethnic cleansing, it is land grabbing, it is all about it. And gradually, it's being franchised in Ambazonia by this particular guy called Ngala Gerald. This, if you look on my screen, you have Ngala Gerald, you have Paula Tanganji, and these people will use those they call Anglophones to do these dirty jobs. You have Ngala Gerald, you have Paula Tanganji, you have conduct titles there that was a security officer in London, as we hear, who, after doing Facebook activism, is also employing people in the DDR, taking them right into his own village to beat, maim, and that is what we need to talk and really shout, and then to ask the question, because I believe my purpose of this discussion is because I know that the United States has sufficient resources, human and material, on the ground to actually confirm what we are saying here today. If there are people that their visa should be cancelled or should be arrested as they travel abroad, we're going to come to Ngala. But I want us to focus on these three that have blood on their hands, that are killing civilians. Poa Tanganji is intimidating Christians. This is a criminal network mostly enhanced by governments in Nigeria or government officials in Nigeria or politicians, and now it's being franchised in Cameroon. Ngala Gerald is reinforcing all the time at the Mbuingokitunjan do axis. He is trying to recruit as many armed men, and since he's unable, since he's failed with the Mbororos within, he now goes into Nigeria to pay armed men into Cameroon just so they can attack the people. Barrister Fru, please.
Yes, Paddy. Let me take them one by one. Paula Tanganji. Maybe let me make myself clear. Let me give these facts about Paula Tanganji. Paula Tanganji is a convict. It's not even ex. It's a convict from the New Bell prison in Douala. What did he do? He was part of a ring of four. His three paymen plus a banker in Société Générale SGB. Sierra Leone Bank in Douala. They took out 1.3 billion francs CFA through that banker. All of them were arrested, and my partner, for many years, for more than 20, 25 years of practice of law, this young man joined me as a partner. My partner was a lawyer for Paul Atanganji and two others. And this guy, they shared that money among the four of them. They were sentenced to 8 years each in Douala convict prison and to pay back that money. What happened? Paul Atanganji stayed in prison and made a call to the CPDM people and said he represents the youth of the Northwest at the time that the whole country was burning. He represents the youth of the Northwest, and he will liberate the Northwest, and the Northwest will come under the CPDM if only he had a freedom. And he proposed 157 million to the CPDM as his own contribution. Poshive left Yaoundé, came down to the convict prison and got a check from this idiot. Put that check in the bank and it passed into CPDM account. He went back to Yaoundé, got a green light, came back and got this guy taken away from prison without the release from prison. If you go to the prison website, type it there, you will see that this man is listed as evadé. Evadé in French means he escaped. Because he was not issued a bulletin de croix. Bulletin de croix is a document that when you are leaving prison after having served your time, they give it to you so that you can integrate in society. That is the criminal that Paul Biya recruited into his government, and that is why he went to the Northwest to pick up all the bandits that he can find in Akum and other places, because a lot of those bandits in the Northwest come from Akum, come from Santa, come from Bafut. He picked them up and put them together, called Atanganji boys, to terrorize our people. He organized the genocide that took place in Pinyin, in Santa, killing more than 32 young people in a hotel in Pinyin, in the village of Pinyin. He has organized a lot of massacre of our people, extrajudicial killings of our people. And this is the guy that Paul Biya has promoted from one place to the other until he is now Minister of Territorial Administration with Form 3 certificate from St. Bede's College. This is a bandit. I come to this other one, Ngala Gerald. Ngala Gerald came back from Europe and was loitering in Douala, had nothing to do. He failed the bar exam twice, and I'm hearing that he is now a lawyer. And he went into the CPDM to make money. He has been recruiting terrorists from among the Mbororo people in the upper in the savannah zone of our country. But he failed in that and took the money, the ill-gotten money, because this guy has never won a case anywhere. He doesn't have money from the practice of law. His money is coming from the regime. He took money, went to northern Nigeria, and brought in Fulanis to come and attack our people and kill our people in Kambe and coming down. This guy lives in Douala in a sumptuously built compound by him. Where did he get the money from? There is no record of him doing well in the bar in Douala. There is no record of him having won a single case in Douala. This guy, this is a criminal. All the dirty money that he spends to recruit a terrorist to attack our people come from the old man of 92 years and for 3 years in power in Yaoundé. These two, I come to the third one. This one is from Willikum. To tell you that the British are devils. The British know that this is an international criminal, a killer, and a man who organizes the killing of people. Florence Ayafo's killing was organized by this guy, Anatanganji, with the governor of the Northwest and the prison superintendent in Bamenda. They captured Madame Florence Ayafo and took her. They went to the village, into her village, and met her there, killed her, cut her body into pieces. This guy was the first to announce, publish pictures that we Ambazonian terrorists have assassinated a prison guard, when they were the ones who organized it. And whom did they use? Another terrorist that is in Europe, in Norway, in prison. They used him, and his boys were the ones who cut that woman's body. And what did they do? They came and took those his boys, went down to Ngala. Let me finish, Paddy.
Yeah.
Let me finish.
I'm not cutting you. I'm not cutting you. I just want to add. I want to add to what you're saying. So you are saying that what they do is they organize bandits like they did in Kumba with students.
Yes.
And then they organize the media on a standby.
Yes.
Just so that they can paint a negative image on the Ambazonian fighters who are protecting their women from rape. And that's what you're actually saying. So that's the strategy Cameroon, and now it's busted.
And that's the strategy Cameroon has been doing, and each time we busted it.
Let
me tell you,
the world knows that you are among the criminals in suit in Cameroon, killing people in your own village. Go ahead.
Yes. And this, they took those 3 guys of Ayabacho's ADF, went to Douala and executed them, and then went to Bonaberi and took 2 innocent Anglophone boys who don't even know where Pinyin is, and they are languishing in maximum security prison, in collaboration with the governor of Northwest, Atanganji, and the superintendent of police. And then Colonel Mbankwi executed them in Douala and captured 2 innocent children. And they're in prison. We have busted it. They did it in Kumba. They organized a ring of military people at Kumba station. They went to Tiango, went to St. Francis College and killed 7 of our children, girls. And Atanganji was the first to appear in Kumba. And of course, one of the mothers of one of those victims told him, objection, objection, you cannot talk here. That is him. And these are the people who are running the criminal ring in Yaoundé called a government. Atanganji, I am assuring you that you will be first to be slaughtered like a pig, because you are a born criminal. A criminal who carried the dead body of his twin brother, who died in his house because he refused to give him malaria treatment, and went and gave the body to the father in Commercial Avenue and left. This man is a devil incarnate. He cannot set foot in Bamenda. Ngala Gerald is hiding in Bonaberi, where I lived. That is the subdivision I lived in Douala for many years. I know where he lives. He goes to Nkambe and does all this criminal activity with his terrorist groups and run to Douala. He cannot live in Nkambe because the Ambazonia State Army is on the look for him. Please, Paddy. Having said that, would you give me a few minutes to address this issue of the U.S. congratulating Paul Biya? I will tell you what happened. the president of the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee of the U.S. Senate, a Republican, wrote a very powerful condemnation of the Biya regime. 2 days after, the American embassy in Yaoundé issued a what you call congratulations to Mr. Paul Biya. If you read that thing, it says for your inauguration. They never congratulated him for winning election. Let's set it apart. Congratulate you for your inauguration. We look forward to being a partner and whatever. When the U.S. chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee said Cameroon is not a partner of the United States. So these are contradictory statements coming from powerful people of the United States. And I argue that President Trump has not appointed an ambassador to Yaoundé. The ambassador who still serves in Yaoundé is this homosexual that Biden appointed. And that is where the congratulation for the inauguration came from. Congratulating you for inauguration is not the same thing as congratulating you for winning the election. Let's get it clear. Secondly, anybody who says that France has issued a congratulatory letter to La République de Cameroon, he has to go and check his facts. I wouldn't call you a liar. No, I would say that you check the facts, because the European Union, where France belongs, has issued a condemnation of what took place in Cameroon and called for an investigation. France has been quiet. As we speak, France has not recognized, has not congratulated Biya either way.
Let me cut you, Barrister Fru, let me cut you there so that I'll give the mic for Barrister Mbeseha to speak. Don't you think that France is silent? But that's my opinion. I think that the silence of France is because France is playing the waters on both sides.
Correct.
They still have allegiance from the Biya camp and the Tchiroma camp, because these two individuals represent.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I agree with that. Definitely,
France is not taking any side, not because of the interest of the people. France really has no interest.
No. But the fact is, the fact is, Tchiroma visited the French ambassador in Yaoundé before resigning and going up to Garoua. That is a fact. Why did he go there? And why is France quiet?
But before you get again back to election, the purpose is I want your voices on this issue of government officials, CPDM loyalists like Ngala Gerald, and Cameroun Proxies like Kunda Titus, paid assassins, bandits that are maiming Ambazonians. They pay assassins to kidnap, rape women, and kill people, and then turn around to say Ambazonian fighters. This is a very important issue. And now that they have been busted, I told Kunda Titus, I was invited by Ndefu Radio Mbamenda sometime last year for an interview. I think early this year. No, last year, sorry. And Kunda Titus was there in that interview. I told Kunda Titus, it was a virtual interview. I told Kunda Titus that we are aware of the fact that he has taken a mandate funded through the Prime Minister's office and a Tanga law to kill his own people because he wants to sabotage the Ambazonian movement that is internationally, that is recognized under international law as a legitimate cause. Barrister Mbeseha, that is where I want you to begin before you comment on the election. But I know you would like to comment on it. But that's what I really want us to enforce on. Please talk to us.
I think, let me go back a little bit. The title is How terrorist syndicate
The terrorist
of French
syndicate.
Cameroun formed by Boko Haram and the Mbororo Herdsmen. I want to go back to that. What is Boko Haram? What is it actually? To me, Boko Haram are just political adventurers, terrorists, criminals who want to make money in the name of politics. Boko Haram has existed, at least in Nigeria, for the past 10 years. They have killed Christians, they have killed many other people. They have not attempted to set up a government, even anywhere in the north. They just kill people and walk around. They are not like the Taliban in Afghanistan. The Taliban killed people and they set up a government under the Taliban. Boko Haram are just political adventurers looking for money. And that's where the Gerald, Ngala, Gerald, Atanganji fall. They go there and recruit them for cash. They are mercenaries when they recruit them from Nigeria. Mercenaries are fighters that are recruited for cash. They recruit them because they have the guns. They recruit them because they have some technique and pay them cash. And that takes me back to what I said earlier. Where are they getting the cash? The cash is coming from the government treasury. Ngala, Gerald, Atanganji, and many others, they are not the only ones, are people who are trying to use this opportunity to create a territorial control politically. Because you don't hear Ngala Gerald, you don't hear him in Bengui, you don't hear him in Manu. He's doing it essentially in Kambe. He wants to control that territory under to give him so much money. Atanganji is struggling to capture a territory, call it Northwest, whatever you call it. And the government pays them for that. They say, okay, you have this large territory. You can have so many militia, we can give you so many billions. And they get this money from the government treasury, pay them to do the dirty work for them. It is well known, as I said earlier, it is well documented they get these mercenaries. The central thing that we shall be asking is, where does Ngala Gerald get money to recruit all these Mbororo people? Where does Ngala Gerald get money to buy all these arms? Or Atanganji? Or even Paul Tassom, the government gives them government money from the treasury. They carve out a political territory for themselves, and then they give it to the CPDM, and then they pay them for that. The mercenaries are fortune seekers when they fight wars. And so they pay the mercenaries, out of it they make a lot of money. That's why Ngala Gerald can tell you, so he's a very rich man. By virtue of that, because the money they give you don't require to come back and give it in the account for it. That's why you can see Atanganji, I saw somewhere in this social media, they were showing his house somewhere, one of the largest houses in the world. They build all those things. So these are political criminals. These are political adventurers. But is the international community aware of what is going on with them? I think they are aware. We talk about the ICC. I will be surprised if these guys are not on the ICC list. The problem with the ICC is that when you are active in government, they will hardly indict you because they cannot come to arrest you. Because there's no way even to indict Atanganji. They will come to Yaoundé, they will not catch Atanganji and give it to them. The ICC does not have a police force to come and catch people. So it's a question of time. These guys are going to be held accountable. What Atanganji is doing, what Ngala Gerald is doing, what Paul Tassom and many others, they are not alone, are doing in different parts of Ambazonia, they are going to be held accountable. They are political adventurers, getting money from the government, hiring mercenaries from the Boko Haram, they hire them from there or wherever they come, or they call it vigilante, and paying them. And they go away without any penalty. Yes, Atanganji was in prison. He left. The prison people, they see him every day in the street. You know, this is a prisoner. They cannot go to catch him because they are above the law. Everybody knows that. He doesn't even know why he was a prisoner. How he finds himself where it is because he belongs. That very much accommodates criminals like that. He was taken from jail because they knew his value in the crime that he would commit to rescue them. They knew what he would do. Because Atanganji, for example, does not even hide his crimes. What he did to Maurice Kamto during this election process is not even something he can hide. He was not even hiding. He parrots his own website of his own ministry and says that with his own mouth. It was parroted. Why? To exclude the candidate. That's a political crime. That's a genocide, political genocide. Because what he did has resulted in the death of so many people. So Atanganji is a question of time. Paul Biya has lived for 90-something years, has been in power for 43 years. Atanganji will not, or Ngala will not sometime. They are going to be held accountable sooner or later. Again, but they will not be held accountable until the Cameroonians who are arguing for their right keep on fighting, keep on demonstrating. Fighting does not mean carrying a gun. Once they keep on doing what they will do, the French people that we are talking about, they are aware of these guys. When they find that this game is too much, they will kick them out. The French problem, or even the American problem, is getting somebody who will replace Paul Biya, who will be sympathetic to them, to their interest. As simple as that. And so, even Mr. Trump, you don't go and take a statement, because you look for somebody who will do his bidding. And so on and so forth. And so they know that Paul Biya is so unpopular. They know that he didn't win the election. But as Brother Nsoh says, if they could receive Tchiroma, and all the presidential candidates who were viable were received by the French embassy in Yaoundé, and we get the told them, where this is our interest, supposed to win, what will you do? The world is a world of interest. This interest can be economic, it can be strategic, it can be something political, but they have an interest. Again, President Trump might show a lot of interest in going to help Christians in Nigeria, but Christians are suffering somewhere else more than in Nigeria. So he must have a particular interest in Nigeria, while he develops the interest in the deaths of Christians in Nigeria. While he goes to Saudi Arabia, where Christianity is even outlawed, he doesn't develop the same interest. Bottom line I'm saying is that the world is a world of interest. And so the Americans, the French, the British, they have their own interest. But the Cameroonians, just like the Ambazonians, should have their own interest. If your interest in your own country, call your Ambazonia, is survival, you have to invest in the survivor. You have to be able to fight back and take control of what you want. And make friends with the Americans, make friends with the Japanese, make friends with whoever you want. Not to be imposed friendship like the French imposed in 1959 by signing these stupid agreements that continue to bind Cameroon, they continue to bind the Côte d'Ivoire, and so on and so forth. That's what it is. Herdsmen, very bad thing. They are documented already. Ngala is a good example. They admitted they did that. And so, well, the herdsmen would not even know them, so they cannot be indicted. But they admitted doing it. So those who did it, who have admitted publicly doing it, are going to be held accountable sooner or later. That's my thinking about that. Over to you.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm here.
Paddy, can I say something?
Yes, please.
Yes, I want to talk about the young people in Ambazonia.
Yeah, please go ahead.
We are where we are today because the young people in Ambazonia have given up their lives to fight to restore their country. All those fighters you find in Ambazonia, there's nobody above 45. They are young people. If a young man comes to the United States through Mexico, struggle, get here. There are many of them here. Some have jobs, some don't have jobs. Even though I told them for not contributing to the struggle, but the contribution of young people is more than what we old people can give. We are here to direct and pilot this struggle so that when we finally get to Ambazonia, our young people should take over and pilot the affairs of the state of Ambazonia and they will now develop a policy of staying away from colonial domination, neo-colonialism, and all that. Because that's what they are fighting for now. Do you know how many young people have died in the war in Ambazonia? Do you know how many young people that Mr. Biya has just slaughtered on the streets of Ambazonia? We have lost more than 65,000 people, most of them young people. Let's give them that honor for having piloted the struggle up to this time. We are most of the people that you see running around betraying the cause. There's nobody there below 65 or 60 running around confusing people. They might have confused some young people to join them to destroy the struggle, but it's not working for them because we have a backbone of the struggle, which is the Ambazonia State Army run by young people. You hear General talk and do, General this, General that. None of them is more than 45. They are all young people. We cannot accept an old man of 93 years or 70-something years, 80-something years, sitting at the helm of state. Don't forget that way. This struggle is being led by a young man. He has given more than 10 years of his life for this struggle. Dr. Samuel Ekomesaku. He's a young man. He is not 60 yet. But when he started, he was less than 50. And piloting the affairs of this struggle. And without him, we would not have gotten to where we are today. I like to make I'm making this statement to let us know that young people in Ambazonia have a duty to continue to struggle so that we'll learn in Biya and allow them to run their country. We cannot go to Biya and a man of 75, 80 years is talking about running for this and running for that, running for that. The best you can be is an advisor. And in your room, in your home, resting. The young people must be allowed to pilot the affairs of the state. We cannot say that young people on the ground are not serious. We don't know that because most of the young people on the ground are the biggest supporters of the struggle. Not to talk of those who have enlisted and they are fighting and dying. Thank you, Paddy.
I thought that was much needed. But you would want to ask the question, why is all of this? Why are they so desperate, Barrister Fru, Barrister Mbeseha, to do this? It's because of what Ambazonia has. Let me just show you a video I just received now of what they are doing. And from Victoria, you see the tankers. These are tankers. Look at the lineup of tankers from Victoria that are going straight to foreign countries. That oil, look at that. That's from Ambazonia. Can you see that?
Yes.
So they are going to kill. This is something from Ambazonia. And Ambazonia doesn't even have a good road. So they will smuggle them through Sonara or whatever you want to call it, Victoria. That's in Victoria. Look at the tankers on the road. So they use people like the Ngala Gerald to kill their own people because of things like this. That image is coming in. So now, I know maybe you people are wondering, but why did I include the image of this other criminal or this individual who calls himself a lawyer, Emmanuel Salai? The reason I included Emmanuel Salai because he is trying to delegitimize the Ambazonia movement in the face of the United States. We understand that he has taken advantage of some of the mistakes of others who call themselves activists, but got themselves involved with illegal activities. He has filed lawsuits. We know that he is also funded by Cameroun government to do whatever he's doing. He helps facilitate all the taxpayers' monies that the government is using to pay lobbyists just to tarnish the image of Ambazonia. So directly or indirectly, he puts a blind eye on the illegal activities of Konda titles at Paul Atanganji. He was very furious when he saw Tchiroma mention in Bamenda that Chris Anu is a friend to him. Ngala Gerald, and doesn't talk about them because of the fact that he wants to say that Ambazonians are terrorists. So this is another figure. So I'm asking you, Barrister Mbeseha, we have said this over and over again, but how many times is enough for us to keep telling the world the historicity and legality of the Ambazonian movement? I'm saying so because the State Department is watching this program. And I'm not saying they're ignorant of it, but we need to also make them be aware that we are conscious that the movement, the Ambazonian movement, is a legal endeavor. And the government of Ambazonia is prosecuting it legally amidst all the sabotage coming from individuals like Emmanuel Nsahlai. Please, Barrister Mbeseha. I think that's where we'll be crowning it. There's also an image. I just saw something from Kemi's War, which we're going to use that to conclude. But this is ridiculous, Barrister Fru, and that's where you come in to conclude. But Barrister Mbeseha, let me take it off with you.
Now, the problem that we have is knowing the role of Nsahlai or any other lobbyist. It's a lobbyist. That's just all. All his efforts to call us whatever names he chooses, to the best of my knowledge, have not succeeded. He has sued a number of Ambazonians, calling them terrorists. He has not succeeded even to have a con. He has taken civil action. He has not succeeded anywhere. But nonetheless, he continues to do that. What's the role of a lobbyist? To sell a cause and get money. His goal, just like the mercenaries who they recruit to come and fight in as Boko Haram, his role is only from his master. Coincidentally, he happens to be a Cameroonian. He wants to steal the money, and he's a lawyer, you're a lobbyist. You have how you succeed because you present a bill for doing something, and that's what he has been doing. And so I think it would not be too long. Mr. Alai will out of the scene because we have been in this war for 9 years. I've not seen any government. The government in the United States, there have been 3 governments at least since we got in there. None of the government has described whatever thing Ambazonians are doing as terrorism. They have not. It is the American government that came out to say, we understand this problem, go to the conference table without preconditions and address the root causes of the problem. That was the definition of the American government under President Trump. President Biden came in, he didn't change. Trump has come in, he has not changed. So our problem is a political problem. Our fight is self-defense. And the Americans know this. Other foreign diplomats know that. We have never gone around to attack anybody in the East Cameroon, in Cameroon. If we are fought back, it is when we are attacked. And that's the right to self-defense. If somebody comes to attack you with a cutlass, or you had a gun, you are free to use that gun. And if you are lucky, kill him or kill her. That's legitimate. It is internationally recognized like that. And so, Nsahlai can do all that. Nsahlai is just one of the several Ambazonians that are set here who are trying to do it. It's just like Atanganji. It's like Ngala Gerald. It's like many other Cameroonians here. And are set here I didn't say that the youth are not fighting. I said that we have about not less than 500,000 Ambazonians in the US and in Europe, and that they were not contributing their fair share to this fight. Because those of us who contribute, sitting here every day, contributing $20, I'm not sure we're even up to 500. We're not even up to 2,000. And so that's the one we're referring to. We're not referring to somebody who has escaped, walked through Mexico and got in here yesterday or 2 days looking for papers. We're not saying that. We didn't say the guys who are not fighting, they're fighting. They're the ones who constitute the ASA. There's no adult, there's no man 80 years, 40 years old there. And so their role is there. I still insist. This fight, for our brothers and sisters who are abroad, we have to form the fight. We have to give the support to the thing. The idea of that one thing, which is the common parlance that they use, is just wrong. The liberation will come, independence will come. Those of us living abroad, from any corner of Amazonia, will go back home to enjoy the proceeds. You and me are not sitting here fighting because when elections come tomorrow, if we get to Buya, we go and contest elections. Well, if we want to go and contest elections, so be it. We're contesting with the people who are on the ground. But if we can win, so be it. But for now, let us continue to fight. Let our brothers and sisters who are abroad join us in supporting the struggle. The struggle must be headed by somebody. For now, it is headed by President Sarko. Not so much because we love him, because it is the institution that represents Southern Cameroon. It is the government of Southern Cameroon and Amazonia. No other institution represents Southern Cameroonians at home and abroad than the government of Southern Cameroon, restored as of 1950, after 1961. And so that is where we are. That is what it is. We are on the right track, I think. Let us continue to do what we're doing. Good enough, I said the other day on a different occasion. Our neighbors that people regard are learning something from us. They've learned the idea of resistance from us. And they are so proud to acknowledge that Ambazonians have been doing the right thing. They never knew that it was like this. They have not even lost as many people as we've lost. But they now realize that until you fight for your independence, you will not get it. If Tchiroma did not even fight, nobody would even have known his name out there. If he didn't pull that crowd and say, okay, even declare a 3-day lockdown, nobody would even have talking about Tchiroma today. Many others have come before him. Cameroon was wiped out in 2018. He didn't even call a 1-day lockdown, whatever it was. And so he was eclipsed. And that was it. So give praises where they are due. I think Tchiroma has done a good job. Tchiroma is no longer the Tchiroma that was sitting in government. Tchiroma is no longer the Tchiroma who formed a political party. He has taken a different status right now. I don't know, but I'm very sure Tchiroma is bigger than Tchiroma. That we know. Tchiroma is bigger than Ngala where he lives. They cannot go to catch him, and he is dead then. If they think they are strong, they can come and catch him. They've not done it. So end of the thing. But congratulations to Cameroonians who have stood up to support Tchiroma, who have stood up to fight for their own rights. Let them fight and fight until they get what they get. And by the time they get what they get, you will realize that fighting is good. Ambazonians deserve what they are fighting for. They too will get what they want. In other words, Ambazonia will get what it wants. Because theirs is a few days old, ours is 9 years old. Over to you.
Yeah, by Fru, please.
Yes, Paddy, before I say anything, let me say that there are a group of people in this America, Ambazonians, who have not and have refused to contribute to the struggle. And these are billionaires in this country. None of them is below 65. I have met at least 3. They have refused to contribute a penny to the Ambazonian struggle. I wonder where they will end up.
Do you think that the reason is because they don't have faith? Do you think that is?
They are billionaires, Paddy. They are billionaires in this country.
Question I'm asking. Do you think that one of the reasons is that they don't have faith? that Ambazonia can ever become a reality. And so they just don't see the reason why they have to invest their money.
They don't even know that. They are just most of them are just concentrated on making as much money as possible, and they don't want to. They don't care nothing about going back home. They care nothing about saying anything about what is happening at home. They go home. They align with the Biya regime, the same generation. Look, I hate to talk about this. It is because the young people here, majority of them are not gainfully employed. What I mean gainfully employed, that's making money that they can contribute. If I am contributing, it's not because I'm gainfully employed, but I have lived my life. I've lived as a lawyer for more than 40 years, just like my senior colleague there. If we are struggling here and drafting every time, it is not because we are gainfully employed. It is because the love of country, the love of our nation, the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, the Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. That is the love for a billionaire to sit here, having been born in Ambazonia, grew up in Ambazonia, went to Ambazonian schools, becomes what you have become because of Ambazonia, and you come to the United States and you become a billionaire, and you turn your back on your people.
Your own people.
Your own people. And you claim that.
And these billionaires don't earn in America. There's another one that facilitated the CPDM fraud in Benin. He calls himself Patrice Lumumba. And that's what the papers are captioning. So you see, it doesn't start and end with Ngala Gerald. It doesn't start and end with vicious individuals in the diaspora. These are some of the individuals who will patronize, because Barrister Fru, this is not ABC propaganda we're trying to make. Let's forget about every work I did in the media that you know from Yaoundé.
Yes.
Forget about it. Let's forget about the time in 2018 when I escaped Yaoundé, went into Nigeria until I'm here. Let's forget about it. Let me just talk about what I've been able to do on the media in Ambazonia, talking with reporters on the ground every day. As I talk to you, I have my friends in Equinox, in CRTV, in Canada.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. I'm saying now. But they cannot even say it. At least 99% or conservatively, at least 95% of every CPDM loyalist in Ambazonia has a vigilante. This individual is among them. How did he galvanize the few votes that were amplified, the so-called Mbororo Patrice? Through intimidation. Because Ambazonians are not stupid. No matter what you come and say, Ambazonians in their rightful sense, even the few parties who went out for Tchiroma ignorantly, will never ever give their votes to an CPDM. And that's where we end, Barrister Fru, please.
Yes, thank you, Paddy, for this for the discussion we have had. Thank you, Barrister Mbeseha, for a very fruitful discussion and debate. We have done what our people expect us to do. We are cognizant of the fact that the Operation Countdown has begun in Ambazonia. It has begun and is effective in the northern zone. The southern zone has not started, and I don't know why. But we also understand that they have a difficult terrain, except Manu. Manu is a very strategically placed county because they are the gateway into Nigeria. And Paddy, do you know that the customs that charge for goods to enter Cameroon have crossed the river into Nigeria, and they have their offices at just adjacent to the offices of the immigration of Nigeria that admits people into Nigeria. We cannot allow that to happen, to continue. They close work and cross over. They don't live in Nigeria.
Yeah.
They close work and cross over. And I am calling on all our forces in the southern zone, from Manu to Meme to Ndian to Paco, to get to work. Get to work, because the countdown has started. We need to do everything to protect the Federal Republic of Ambazonia from La République du Cameroun excesses. A lot of the soldiers have left, but the ones that are still in Ambazonia, we should make sure that either they leave by their own volition, or we annihilate them. All government, look, there's an audio from General Hanok that details what is supposed to be done. That audio was produced this morning. And I tell you, the calm down has started. We cannot allow the excesses of La République du Cameroun to cross the Mongo River, or to cross Matazen, or to cross Tombel.
Thank you very much. We've taken more than enough time. Thank you. Until next week. I hope to see you. You want to say what before we close, by Mbeseha?
Yes, what I want to say is that Ambazonians worldwide, and especially at home, we're watching our neighbors, what is going on there. We should not be overwhelmed with what is going on there. That is not our problem. I've heard criticism from others saying that, oh, you people in the ABC are saying nothing. We are not bound to analyze the politics of Cameroon. Nobody should compare what is going on here on ABC with what Chris Nsoh or Mba Akuro do. Mba Akuro, Chris Nsoh has a private TV. It's private. He can do what he likes there. He can go and bring people from Japan and talk to them. They are not ABC. ABC is Ambazonian Broadcasting Corporation. It belongs to the government. So we are doing our job. We are not Mba Akuro, who runs the private network. So that comparison should not be made. We do things here the way the government of Ambazonia should do. We take judicial notice of what is going on there. We don't support Tchiroma. We don't support Paul Biya. Any of them can sit in Yaoundé. All our prayers that whoever sits in that chair permanently should come and make peace with us, so we can go our own way. That's all what it is. Ambazonians will get what they want to get. They will get it. This week they launched Operation Final Push, which has been effective. People were taken out of service somewhere in Bamboo, or Bamboo, somewhere there. And then that is the empire. You either go away by yourself or you'll be pushed out. The second action that was launched was Operation Border Closure. And was specified. Like Bro Nsoh says, in the South, it should be very simple. There are not very many points even to deal with international border with East Cameroon. You can have a place in the BLM where they cross in. You have Tombel, Lum, Kumba, which is the road that you can actually control it. The most difficult one will be Tiko Douala Road, because you start very big vehicles are flying there in daylight. But that should not prevent us from doing what we want to do. I'm sure Yaoundé is aware of this. I'm sure the international community is aware of what is going on. Let us be encouraged. And as we said, our brothers and sisters who are here, billionaires and poor people, that was nothing. The struggle is no longer applicable. It's for all of us, for us today, and for the generation after us. Keep fighting. Have the trust in us. We are not angels. We shall falter, but we shall rise and succeed at the end of the day. Thank you for listening to us. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Fru Mbeseha. You've heard those words there. Keep fighting. We are not angels, but we're sure. gonna finish the course on your behalf. I want to thank all those who have been watching us via our social media platforms. I also want to take the opportunity to thank the patrons, the club members, and all donors of ABC. We are about to close the year, and there's so much for ABC to do right now. And your donations, if anything is needed more than ever, we call on all those who have their due spending that is way overdue, endeavor to give them as we speak right now, please. We're also calling on those who want to duplicate. We're consulting with resource mobilization to see how we can organize one of the last strategies. We're also going to consult with the commissioners for women, social services, and humanitarian to see how we can galvanize some resources to accommodate the close of this year, 2025. You know, ABC at every given moment is very instrumental. So I want to call on all those patrons and club members. You have details of our donation outfits. Make sure that your donations come in. We are very, very grateful. Why our brothers and sisters of the field are fighting with guns to protect our children, our mothers and our sisters from the genocidal onslaught, the criminal syndicate of the Bolo hegemony. You are doing a good job with your support, and it will be counted onto you for your credits. History you are writing, and history you continue to write. I want to leave you with this interesting song from this Bamenda guy who grew up in Mabanda and somewhere in Europe. I don't want to give his precise location. He's the same guy who did the song Atanganji Masa you do that your head big so but your brain small. And he is about to give to us, explain to us very clearly right now what happened in La République du Cameroun earlier this week. Until next week, it's been Tarh.
I don't read the votes. Yeah, make I take my oath. I do so swear, say I go wicked. Almost every budget go the enter from my pocket. When the budget enter, I go hairy, wear my jacket. Fly go for France, I not even need a ticket. I swear when I go suffer 3 hours for France, then I did for Swishy border. Enter hotel, spend half the door, I no go bother. She don't watch TV, look how when I suffer. Finish call my jacka, Ide California. Sending money, telling me Kitori with your banker. Make it go shopping spree, live la vida loca. Go for club, buy whiskey, miss and with your coca. Smoke some majunga. All the thing way at the talker. Me when I know say I go do and if any man try me when I do anything for the country, I go lock her. All the thing way at the talker. Me when I know say I go do and if any man try me when I do anything for the country, I go lock her. Life for you go hard, pass the one for chat. If you chop once a day, oh boy, you get for glad. Life go the cut, accidents go pack. Dust everywhere, potter yeah go bad. Dotting deeper for your tap. You go fear for wash your sap. Not to talk of even shark. Belly by the thing a trap. Go hospital, hold your bribe. Police stay for road with pride. 500 go be the price. When they stop, you pay the price. Doll man with the choco go pass enam. When you finish school, go for net, start for scam. Bolo no go there, I swear to God, that's the plan. If you vex you must have 4 bush, go Thailand. Bolodo sent in them for port. When them rich, only tax, you go dash and for port. Life for year go really strong, it go bad, it go short. When I finish, you no clap, I go send you for court. I swear to God, all the thing way I the talker. Me when I know say I go do and if any man try me when I do anything for the country, I go lock her. All the thing way I the talker. Me when I know say I go do and if any man try me when I do anything for the country, I go lock her. I don't read the votes. Yeah, make I take my oath. I do so swear, say I go wicked. Almost every budget go the enter from my pocket. When the budget enter, I go hairy wear my jacket. Fly go for France, I not even need a ticket. I swear when I go suffer 3 hours of France, then I did for Swishy border. Enter hotel, spend half the door, I no go bother. She don't watch TV, look how I be suffer. Finish come a jacka, Ide California. Sending money, telling make it to with your banker. Make it go shopping spree, live la vida loca. Go for club, buy whiskey, miss and with your coca. Smoke some majunga. All the thing way I the talker. Me when I know say I go do and if any man try me when I do anything for the country, I go lock her. All the thing way I the talker. Me when I know say I go do and if any man try me when I do anything for the country, I go lock her. Life for you go hard, pass the one for chat. If you chop once a day, oh boy, you get for glad. Life go the cut, accidents go back. Dust everywhere, potter yeah go bad. Dots in deeper for your tap. You go fear for wash your sap. Not to talk of even shark. Belly by the tin a trap. Go hospital, hold your bribe. Police stay for road with pride. 500 could be the price. When they stop, you pay the price. Doll man with the choco go pass enam. When you finish school, go for next, start for scam. Bolo no go there, I swear to God, that's the plan. If you vex you must have 4 bush, go Thailand. Bolodo sent in them for port. When them rich, only tax, you go dash and for port. Life for year go really strong, it go bad, it go short. When I finish, you no clap, I go send you for court. I swear to God, all the thing way I the talker. Me when I know say I go do and if any man try me when I do anything for the country, I go lock her. All the thing way I the talker. Me when I know say I go do and if any man try me when I do anything for the country, I go lock her.